Are we live? Oh, yeah, now we're live. Okay. Welcome to a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintrow. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, we missed you at the watch party last night, Seth. I don't blame you for not attending, though. But it was late. It was planned to be late, 10 p.m. and on the East Coast, but it was also literally late on Elon time. Though apparently they had a good excuse. Apparently there was a medical issue or whatever that took a whole hour to solve and delayed the presentation quite a bit. But then the presentation itself, that's what we're going to get into today. The Cybercab Robotaxi. It looks like it's going to be Robotaxi. The name, it's not a good start when you don't even have a clear name for the product. On the Tesla website, they do mention Robotaxi, but there's not a clear page. Robotaxi is just a page for the event, the Re-Robot event. And can you, can I ask? Oh, yeah, I got this.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, got it. So they do call it on the website Robotaxi. Elon alternatively used Cybercab and Robotaxi on stage, so it's not clear. I'm calling it, I prefer Cybercab, so I'm going to call it Cybercab. And this is it right here. I'm not going to lie. Love the look. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's they nailed it on that. I think the front light on the Cybertruck light bar thing works perfectly with that form factor. The covered wheels, not fully covered, but full mag tip to tip. It works, I think, on this. And I would like to see it without that, just for sake of comparison. But I do enjoy it. I think it looks sharp. Now, that's about all I can say about this vehicle because there's basically no details about it. The event itself and the website that Tesla shared after the fact is completely missing any kind of specs or anything like that. Literally, the only spec that Elon sort of shared about the vehicle were 20 cents per mile of operating costs, which seems optimistic to me, but yeah, whatever. The price to be aiming for less than 30, that's not even a spec, but you're aiming for a price of less than $30,000 because it wasn't clear if this was just going to be a vehicle to be used in a ride-sharing fleet, an autonomous ride-sharing fleet. Apparently not. Apparently they are also going to sell it for less than $30,000. And the other spec is, Elon said that is going to use AI5, which is the new onboard computer, which sometimes we're referred to as Hardware 5. So that's in there. Everything else we already knew about from the leak. So it's a two-seater. I'll show you more pictures here. Butterfly doors, two-seater, butterfly doors. A little bit more pictures here. You can get a good look at the butterflies. You get the trunk there. It has very big trunk, which, I assume it's two-seater. So that's...
Yeah, it's weird that they didn't make it a four-seater. I mean, it seems like there'd be room for at least like a couple kids back there or something.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be too much room for a trunk. I think they were like really limited. And the idea is like it's ride sharing, and
Right.
they know that 90% of rideshare rides are two passengers or less.
Right.
So having two seats works. Obviously, though, for like people with low mobility issues and older folks, this is not really a form factor that I think people that would actually benefit a lot from autonomous rideshare. It doesn't look that fun to get in and out of that thing. So maybe something to think about.
I mean, while we're looking at this thing, I think your take that it's like a impressive looking vehicle is not like universal in the wider sphere. I think it looks like something if you said, hey, design a Model Y that's got two seats but also has some Cybertruck. Like if you told AI to design a vehicle that looked kind of like a Model Y but two-seater and
you think that looks like a bit like a Model Y?
Yeah, the shape.
Maybe this angle here, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably more like the Juniper one.
But the front end looks more aggressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some Cybertruck underpinnings in both the front and back, but it's definitely way more aerodynamic. Also, the color, like, it's definitely cool, stands out, but I don't know. I'm not as in love with it, I think, as some others, and you possibly are. But design's always going to be subjective.
The interior, dash, screen, very similar, like very Tesla, nothing new there. Seats are quite different than what you'd see in a Tesla vehicle normally.
Yep, more like a bench.
Yeah, more transit looking type thing.
Mm-hmm.
This the armrest here is foldable. We've seen Tesla shared a quick video of an automated cleaning system that can get inside the car, like the butterfly wing doors open, and then the cleaning system get inside, and that they can lift that up. They can clean the whole car, which was pretty cool. But I saw fans like Tesla fans going crazy over that. Like, wow, Tesla figured out how to autonomously clean the car. That's useless until they figure out how to autonomously drive it.
Yeah, it's not.
I like the enthusiasm. Yeah, no range specs or anything like that. All we have, like I said, is pricing, hopeful cost of operation per mile. And Elon says production in 2026, but he admitted that he's not great with timelines at the same time. So he said maybe 2027, something like that. Now, in terms of the hardware suite, like I said, they said the new computer is going to be on there. Looking at the car closely, it looks like pretty much the same camera setup that you find on the latest Model 3, Model Y, except that you have the front bumper camera like the Cybertruck. So this is a good addition. But it's still completely based on Tesla FSD full self-driving supervised. But of course, this cannot be supervised because there's no steering wheel. There's no pedals. So it has to work. Tesla has to deliver unsupervised self-driving first. And this is where things get interesting. We have Elon said that, let me see here. Okay. Elon said, again, 2026, 2027, but then he said that Tesla's existing vehicles are going to all be able to achieve unsupervised self-driving, which is something he said for a while now. And now, last time was by the end of this year, and next year max. That's what he said. So he kind of reiterated that, though dropping the end of this year. And he said he thinks now next year for sure in Texas and California. And he specified that that's where you think that they're going to get regulatory approval, which is not too well because California and Texas have been kind of leaders in self-driving regulations. And currently, they are system approved in California and in Texas. However, they are geofence system. They're not what Tesla plans to do. Tesla, according to Elon, is like at one point they're going to flip a switch and it's going to be level 5. Which is very doubtful. So my biggest disappointment with this entire event, I guess I should mention the Robovan too. So there was basically no surprise. I don't know if you saw this, Seth, but right before the event, Joe Gebbia, I think that's how he pronounced his name, the co-founder of Airbnb that's on Tesla's board, he tweeted right before the event, if you think that you know everything that Tesla is going to unveil today, you're wrong. But literally all the weeks that came during the 2 weeks prior, which was 2-seater, butterfly wing doors, the Robovan, and Optimus update, they were all in there. So that was all that was unveiled. Really, one of the leaks said that Elon was going to talk about Tesla Semi getting FSD, and that was not in there, actually. So there was actually more leaks than they were actually what was unveiled. So he was wrong about that. But yeah, the Robovan, there's not that much detail on this thing either. There's no timeline on it. It's a very Art Deco train type of inspiration that you have for it. Way too low ground clearance here, unless they plan to just use it with the in the boring tunnel. But we know that Tesla has been working on a similar product for the boring company, so maybe that's the final iteration of that. Here's some pictures from the inside. So it apparently had enough space for 20 people.
I'm only counting 14 there. But maybe
yeah, I assume they count some standing spaces, I would assume. White seats is not a great idea for public transit, unless you're in Japan or something.
Hmm.
Here's the room for the luggage in the back, or it might be in the front. Really, it might be both. Actually, it looks like it's both. No timeline on this thing, not really. It's just Elon said, like, yeah, we have the two-passenger, with the two-passenger vehicle. Then for higher transit, we have this vehicle. It's going to be autonomous, but this thing also relies completely on full self-driving. Which I go back to my point that I was expecting at this event Elon to communicate with us a path to achieving self-driving. You know, we're getting very close to his timeline. To be fair, he's been saying the same thing every year, but like this one, he's now put a timeline on himself with this vehicle program that Tesla is investing billions of dollars right now. They are building the Unbox platform production line in Texas for it, investing a lot of money. This car doesn't have a steering wheel, so they have to deliver, or they are building an entire program for nothing. So I wanted to know, how do you get there? So there was two avenues that I thought they could announce at this event. One, actually share some FSD data. Tesla has over 1.6 billion miles on FSD, never shared a data point at all about this engagement, thing like that. We had to rely entirely on crowdsourced data. And like I've been saying for months, the crowdsourced data looks awful, just awful. And if it's not true, like, and I give them, to be fair, I give them credit. Tesla has 1.6 billion miles of data. We have 100,000 miles of crowdsourced data. So it's completely different data sets. But if the 100,000 miles is not representative, and I have to assume that it has to be representative to at least, 10% degree of variation, 20%, even if it's 20% wrong, it would still be awful data. And anyway, if Tesla can prove us wrong, do it, release the data. They didn't do it. Okay. The other avenue, I thought it was like, all right, this is a dedicated vehicle for self-driving. Take an approach closer to Waymo and, make a deal with a city to release in a geofence area ride-share service with that you can optimize it specifically for this area. I think Tesla is getting, decent amount of mileage between disengagement that varies greatly in areas. So if you find in areas where you have pretty good solid data, deploy there. But Tesla has always been against that. So no surprise there whatsoever. No, actually, it was a surprise that they didn't do anything there at all. So it's like business as usual. You just have to trust me that this time I'm not wrong, like I was the last 5 years. This time I'm right, and we're gonna deliver full self-driving, which I have zero hope for at this point because they are not doing anything. It makes no sense.
So what's going to happen? Like what do we predict? Like, will they slow down the rollout of the Cybercab hardware, or will they accelerate the development of the software so that that these things actually run?
I think they are obviously, like, as long as Elon is in charge, they are all in on the FSD program now. So they are gonna turn online soon the big data center in Texas, and hopefully, I think that's what they think. I think that's gonna accelerate the pace of improvement. But again, the pace of improvement, I don't have it here. I have it in the latest article that I posted here. So this, I use the meme.
Oh, nice.
So this is the pace of improvement here. So first update that I got 3 years ago, 32 miles per disengagement in city miles. We are at 69 now, 58 overall miles, 123. So basically doubled over a period of 3 years. From here now, we need 1,000x improvement, roughly. Some say 500, some say 1,000, some say 2,000. Let's say 1,000 just to be right, average. If it took 3 years to do 2x, how much time is it going to take them to do 1,000x? Like, no idea. But that's the path that they've chosen right now. And until they divert their path, I don't see any hope. Unless you start seeing like a crazy improvement in the rate of improvement. But I don't see that coming in the short term, unfortunately.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Jamie is in the comments with some interesting So he says, this is why I said they should do Model 2 first, because then the hardware isn't dependent on the software. Maybe they switch this to a steering wheel vehicle that still has the hardware. Call it Model 2. I mean, this car kind of looks like what a Model 2 would look like, right? The size-wise and the shape. So maybe this is just the Model 2, but Elon's pushing a steering wheel-less, full self-driving version, but maybe in reality, a Model 2 comes along.
Yeah, I mean, that was the original plan that was canceled earlier this year in favor of the robotaxi and 2 new vehicles based on Model 3, Model Y. It's going to be cheaper, but not as cheap as what this could be. Because yeah, if anything, this is proof that Tesla can make a compelling. I know we disagree a little bit on the design here, but a somewhat compelling all-electric vehicle for $30,000 or less on the Unbox platform. So if it's a proof of that, just put a steering wheel on it, like 2 more seats in the back, maybe, remove some storage room in the back, but add some. You have some in the front, I assume. You have a front trunk, though we didn't see it. Like you can have a compelling vehicle for $30,000 or so, and you're in business.
Yep.
And if somehow you're wrong about achieving full self-driving within the next 2 years, you can actually sell that thing, which you won't be able to do with the Cybercab. So it's a de-risking thing too. I cannot understand why Tesla would take this approach. It's overconfidence in their ability to deliver their full self-driving system. Should we do a quick read on our friend from Bluetti? So we talked about Bluetti last week. They sponsored the episode, and I hope you took advantage of their Amazon Prime deal. But this week they have another deal up to 57% discount for their Members Day. Go ahead, Sal.
All right. Today's special episode is sponsored by Bluetti, a leading provider of sustainable energy solutions specializing in portable power stations, solar generators, and energy storage systems. As a provider of dependable and portable energy solutions, Bluetti has become an industry leader with a presence in 100 plus countries and is trusted by millions of customers worldwide. Its portfolio of clean, portable energy solutions continues to grow, offering its customers viable options for all uses and budgets. Some of these options include a variety of portable power stations like the AC50B, AC70, AC180, AC200L, etc., guaranteed to give you dependable power on the go with plenty of various plugs to connect your devices to. Bluetti also sells a number of accessories such as solar panels to take your energy usage entirely off the grid and recharge using the power of the sun. For a limited time, save up to 50%, 57% during Bluetti's Members Day sale. Learn more at bluettipower.com or the link in the YouTube description. Thank you, Bluetti, for sponsoring. Pretty good.
I was muted. In the event, obviously, the other thing in the event we didn't report on really is the Optimus, which wasn't really an update on the Optimus program other than Elon, reiterating his mention that he thinks that everyone's going to have an Optimus robot, and then there's going to be more.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one. There's going to be more than one. They did release a few videos that looked pretty good, but like there are videos, and then they had a fleet of them at the event that people could interact with. But it's not well known, and Tesla didn't communicate very well what was happening with those robots. So they were doing some pretty cool things. They were doing like a lot of dexterity stuff that I thought was impressive. They were communicating with people in a very fluent way, but so fluent that a lot of people are speculating that they were remotely controlled. Not necessarily completely, not like, a controller and then doing everything, but at least some prompts were sent to them. It was not entirely automated. So some people are calling it human-assisted robots. So they're not completely autonomous. And the way they talk, a lot of times, it did feel like it might be a human like talking behind, which might be just a compliment. It might be like a compliment, like, hey, it's so good that it sounds humans. Or it might be an actual human, and Tesla was just not clear about that at all. So not good.
I don't know. I listened to some of them. It sounds remarkably like a human being. like just the intonation and the speed of the responses and yeah, Siemens.
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT's advanced voice setting is remarkably impressive. Like it can confuse you at times that you're talking to a human. So it's not impossible, but yeah, it's I tend to agree more with you than the idea that this is completely automated. Now, one thing that happened right before the event and then was promoted through the event is Tesla already brought back its 0% APR financing in the US. However, there's a caveat, a big one. It forces you to buy the full self-driving if you want to get access to the 0% financing. So all the people, since Tesla decided to take the approach that we're not doing geofence anything, when we're just going all in FSD, they want to sell that FSD. And they are selling it through not this new incentive, which was there last quarter, but it was supposed to end at the end of the quarter as an incentive to get people to take delivery before the end of the quarter. And now it's coming back, just a week after the beginning of the fourth quarter. But again, with the caveat of going full self-driving. And if you go on the limited Tesla We Robot page, like they have a few lines about the new Cybercab, robotaxi, Robovan. And then it's like, hey, we have a deal right now where you can buy all of Tesla vehicle with FSD, which is the same technology that's in the Cybercab. So they are really pushing that right now, if you wanted to know. And we
in the comments also, Sean and Jamie are noting that FSD transfer is available again until the end of December.
Yeah, so that's the other thing now, and that's can bring me to my other point that I want to discuss. I just tweeted that I'm planning to write an article on this, but I wanted some feedback before because there is some nuance to it. You'll get that in a second, but I think it is pretty damning. Let me share this instead. This tab, isn't this working? Yep. Okay, it's this video here. Thanks to Tire Ray on Twitter, on X. Sorry, I was then naming Twitter there.
Cybertruck 2. Yes, of course. Sorry, I don't want to be.
Okay, so
outside the US.
For context here, so he played with the audio so we can hear it a little bit better. I'm gonna play it and then we're gonna talk about it real quick.
So, and it's Cybertruck 2. Yes, of course. Sorry, I don't want to be. Yes. All our cars, basically, all cars that we make. So let's not get nuance here.
Next slide. All right. So what happened here is you have Elon that's talking about, what we just discussed. So Cybercab, like just all the other Tesla vehicles will become all self-driving. And I think he mentioned this video starts after that, but I think he mentioned like Model 3, Model Y. And then someone in the crowd yells Cybertruck and then say, yeah, Cybertrucks too. He says all our all cars that we make will be self-driving. And then someone in the crowd, like they isolated the audio because I didn't hear it during the event when it first started. Someone yells hardware 3. And then Elon says, let's not get nuance here. And awkwardly quickly ask for the next slide. So people are speculating here that, he knows that Tesla cannot deliver unsupervised self-driving as promised on hardware 3 vehicles, which is millions of vehicles, but he just doesn't want to say it just yet, which is very problematic. So as the FSD transfer is back on, and the FSD transfer, which started last year, was, as per Elon said, there was supposed to be a one-time amnesty because people kept asking, since Tesla is not delivering on its promise, can we transfer it to a new car? If you want to update a new car, I don't want to lose the FSD purchase that you never delivered that I want on my car. So Elon said, okay, this one time is going to be just for 1 quarter. I'm going to do it amnesty. And then it came back now for, I think, the 4th or 5th time. I'm not sure. Jamie can tell us if he's still in the chat. He's posting an article about it right now. I think it's the 4th or 5th time they brought it back. So my idea behind that is that this is a plan to lower Tesla's liability with full self-driving. So what they do is that they take back the hardware 3 car, they sell you an hardware 4 car, transfer the FSD to that, remove the FSD on the car that's never going to get the full FSD, and then they can either like just sell you the features as some kind of enhanced autopilot thing, or just remove it entirely, one and the other. Jamie says it's the fourth time it was brought back. It was supposed to be a one-time amnesty. So yeah, this reduced Tesla's liability on the hardware 3 vehicle, though it is kind of a stretch too, because I don't think it truly removes the full liability, because it removes Tesla should offer probably a refund at the very least to people that have FSD. But it's not just that. Even if you don't have FSD and you have an hardware 3 car, Tesla sold it to you with the value that it would eventually become self-driving, and you could just buy the full self-driving package and get the full self-driving, which was false. So I think every hardware 3 owner, to a degree, have a case against Tesla here, and I'm sure that lawyers are going to see it like that. So yeah, this is problematic. And also, the other thing that's problematic is that it's one thing to get it wrong, just think that you can deliver the feature that you're selling on the car with future software update, and then realizing after the fact, we screwed up, we cannot do it, mea culpa, let's fix it, retrofits, refunds, buybacks, whatever it is. It's another thing that when you figured out that you can, which you could make the argument here that Elon is kind of knows about it at this point, and then you're not telling it right away to the consumers, and that you enter the fraud territory, I think, because then you're still like someone, hardware 3 owner can still go in their car right now and upgrade to full self-driving, and that's not true. Then that's at least some people, including Elon at Tesla, know it's not true. That becomes fraud. So we might be entering a very different era here for Tesla and FSD, I think. All right, we have another sponsor for this week's episode of the Electrek podcast. So let's talk a little bit about our friends at All Sets, which they're the North American leader in paint protection and restyling, offering colored wraps, paint protection, window tints, ceramic coatings, and more. And they are doing it exclusively for electric vehicle. What they have to say, Seth?
All right. Today's episode is also brought to you by All Set Auto. All Set Auto is North America's leader in paint protection and restyling services, offering colorized wraps, paint protection film, window tint, ceramic coatings, and more exclusively on EVs, as you mentioned. In fact, they have worked on over 7,000 electric vehicles, including having already wrapped over 300 Cybertrucks in colored PPF. Maybe that's why Tesla's getting out of the game. The company currently offers the largest selection of colored PPF in the industry, with more than 25,000 options in gloss, matte, metallic, and even color shifting. All Set Auto currently operates in 15 markets across the U.S. and Canada, and is seeking to award new franchise opportunities to qualified candidates who are passionate about the EV industry. To find a location near you or to get their free digital franchising brochure and market analysis, visit allsetauto.com. That's Tesla backwards, ALSET auto.com. Didn't realize that was Tesla backwards. All Set Auto.
Yeah, I thought it was all set. Like, you're all set now. Your paint is protected because it's not all about wraps, people. It's also it's also just paint protection. That's a lot of people are buying EVs for the first time. It's like their most expensive car they buy for the first time, and maybe they never really thought about paint protection before that. And now they always had like 15, 20,000, maybe $30,000 car max, and they were like, yeah, I don't really need paint protection. But if you're buying now a 45 or 50, a $60,000 vehicle, maybe you should think about the long-term value and the paint protection. So thank you for All Set for sponsoring this week's episode of the Electrek podcast. All right, let's move on to some non-Tesla news. The Silverado, the Chevy has unveiled the Silverado EV LT, the new version, a new kind of mid-range version of the vehicle that has some pretty good spec for the pricing here. Let me get into the details here. So the new LT, you have the option of the extended range. So it starts with the extended range. I get 408 miles of EPA range for $75,000. So you're gonna get access to the federal tax credit for electric trucks for that. Then you can get the LT premium package that I think has bigger wheels, which will gonna reduce your range by 18 miles at 390 miles of range. And this one's gonna start at $82,000. So you also lose access to the tax credit for that. So it's a strategy that a lot of automakers have been doing now. They're selling like their lower hand version just before the tax credit, and then you have to go a little bit higher to get. If you go with a little bit premium package, you lose it, unfortunately. You still have the work truck. So the LT now is between the work truck, which is like the very cheapest and lower, less premium version. You can get still 422 miles of range with the extended range version at $69,000. Pretty good deal. And then you can get the max range with 492 miles of range for $78,000. But that's the work truck. Like, it's very basic. I think the seats don't even go up, I think.
Yeah, and the interior's all plastic, and
it's a work truck.
It's a work truck.
Like it's meant to get dirty and meant to be roughed up a little bit. And then you have the RST version that is just insane. We reviewed that one not too long ago, and it's pretty awesome. But yeah, you still get, even with the work version or the LT version, you still get all the cool things like the super fast 300 kilowatt DC fast charging, 12,000 pounds of towing capacity, 1800 pounds of payload capacity, the big screen. It's still like a very appealing proposition here offered at the. It completes the lineup. The LT completes the lineup a little bit, except for the standard range work truck, which we still don't have. It's going to come later this year. Later in the model year. Oh, that could be next then, because we already shifted to the 2025 model year. So it's going to come maybe next year. All right, last week we discussed a lot of delivery results from Tesla, Ford, GM, and Rivian. This week we have the Lucid delivery results, and they are looking pretty good for Lucid. So we're not talking about super high volume here, but it's still a new record, and it's the third record in a row for Lucid at 2,781 vehicles delivered in the third quarters. So it adds up to 7,142 for the year, for the first 3 months of the year. And that compares to 6,001 for the entirety of last year. So Lucid is already up from last year, and it still has Q4 to deliver even more. However, what's going to be a little bit more difficult is the production side of things, because the production fell to 1,805 units in Q3, down from 2,100. So they're going to have to build 3,358, so up from last quarter 1,800, so that almost double in Q4 to hit the production target of 9,000. But I don't think they changed their guidance, at least not officially, despite those results. But it's the third quarter of growth in a row for Lucid, so congrats to them. And we know they're having some issues selling cars in North America with just a sedan. It's not easy. They need that Gravity SUV, which is going to come soon. So they just trying to survive until then with only one car. But the Air, I'm hearing good things, and I'm supposed to test one out soon. I've never actually tested the Air, and they're getting one in Montreal as a press lead to test it out. And early days with Lucid, I've heard really bad things about it, but most of it was like software related. It wasn't ready and all that. But more lately, we are getting a lot of great reviews about the Lucid Air. Still on delivery result, BMW has released their result for Q3, and they're doing pretty good. They sold over 100,000 EVs in the third quarter, a new record for them. They are now just short of 294,000 EVs for the whole year, for the first 9 months of the whole year. That's up 19%, and they even for the first time beat Tesla in Europe in July, just in July though. So it's not.
That's news
exactly,
though.
Yeah, it's still big. Yeah.
BMW was kind of lost there for a little bit, and they certainly seem to be catching up now.
Yeah, and it's thanks to the iX1 and the i4. These are the I don't have a full breakdown of the deliveries per models because BMW is starting to have a decent number of electric models, but they're smaller SUV and the i4 are the two leaders in cell. All right. We have 2 more pieces of news to discuss, 2 more stories, and then we're going to jump into the comment section. So if you guys have questions for us, either about the stories that we were discussing today or about any other stories in the EV world that you want us to jump into, we're going to do that in about 5 minutes after we're done with those 2 next stories here. First one is about Rivian. So Rivian, we discussed their deliveries and production issues last week when they released their quarterly result for deliveries and production, and they were down surprisingly, and they had to revise their guidance for the full year to between 47,000 and 49,000 units instead of 47,000 units. So it's a big downgrade. The blame a specific
Lost you, dude.
specified exactly what was the issue. So an issue with a specific supplier, SX Furukawa, and they do copper winding. Can you say?
No, I lost you for a bit. I can't tell if it's you or me, though. Yeah, it might be you. It's according to the comments. Might have to. Fred will be back. I'm just marking down where this is so we can go back and edit it during the. No Fred yet. We're still around. Stay tuned. All right, here we go. All right, you're back.
Yes, sorry about that. I think I just lost power, and normally I lose power, and my internet doesn't drop. Like my power wall goes back in like fast enough that I don't lose it. But it looks like the Wi-Fi, like I have 2 Wi-Fi system, and it just switched between the 2 while the power came back on. So my bad. But yeah, apparently it's not SX Furukawa's issue. It was a miscommunication between Rivian and the supplier that resulted in them not having enough copper windings, and then they found they found some alternative sources of supply. But Rivian right now is in a cost-cutting effort. They need to bring their costs down to achieve positive gross margin, and going with an alternative source at the last minute like that would have been too costly. So it sounds like they're just readjusting and reducing production in order to not affect the cost too much. And copper windings can get expensive, folks. So yeah, it sounds like it was a growing pains issue. I don't know if someone got a little slap on the wrist at the supply chain team
They called him out. Like that's
yeah.
Like who not to go to for your copper windings.
Well, like I said, I'm not sure if it's the supplier's issue, if it's not Rivian's communication with the supplier that was a problem. So maybe not the supplier to blame here.
Well, they weren't flexible enough to be able
to accommodate them after that. All right, we one more news item, and then we jump into the comment section if you guys have questions for us. XPeng, the Chinese manufacturer that was once known as a Tesla copycat, the founder openly admitted that he founded the company after Tesla opened up their patents, and he got excited about the idea of producing electric vehicles using some of Tesla's technology, at least. At some point, they went a little bit too far. At some point, Tesla sued former engineers that went to XPeng and reportedly, allegedly brought in the autopilot source code and all that. That was years ago. The company has, expanded a lot since, and they are producing some very good high-end electric vehicles for the Chinese market right now. They are starting to get some momentum, and when I say high-end, like this is the new P7 Plus sedan that they're doing. It's a new version, a little bit bigger version of their popular P7i, I think is the other vehicle. And this one is a little bit bigger. It has a 3,000 millimeters wheelbase, 5,000 length, 2,000 width, and 1,500 height. It comes in an LFP battery pack with a 60 kilowatt hour battery capacity, and it has also an option for 76.3 kilowatt hour, giving you 285 and 441 miles respectively. However, those are CLTC based range estimates, so take that with a grain of salt. They are claiming a 0.206 drag coefficient, which is impressive, and that contributes to a very efficient vehicle with 11.6 kilowatt hours to travel 100 kilometers, 62 miles. The vehicle is selling as a class under 300,000 Chinese yuan, which is the equivalent of about $42,000. So, like I said, it's not for the Chinese market. It is a high-end vehicle, but they are competing with Tesla. But they kind of in between a Model 3 and a Model S for the Chinese market, I would say. Yeah, and this vehicle is sold as like an AI vehicle. So, XPeng has an ADAS system that's similar to the autopilot, though they call it Eagle Eye now. And they plan to eventually become a door-to-door full self-driving system, a little bit like Tesla has been advertising for years. But they said that the car itself, the AI capability goes beyond just the self-driving capabilities or the future self-driving capabilities. They also said that the AI is used to make the car more efficient, so it manage the battery. So the battery management system is powered by AI, apparently. Though they don't go into too much detail about how that works exactly. But the vehicle will go on pre-sale during the Paris Auto Show next week. All right, that's it for all the news of this week. Let's jump into the comment section, see what our audience has to say.
All right, Donald Parrish came in early. It was not the most impressive Tesla presentation, which begs the question, which one was the most impressive? I was thinking about this. Semi and Roadster?
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet.
That was hard to... I mean, I still remember the moment the Roadster came out of the Tesla Semi. We looked at each other and we're like, what?
Yeah, and then the specs were insane, which...
Yeah, then they went with the specs, and yeah, that was a big moment. No, I mean, the presentation was like, other than like the hardcore Tesla fans that are defending it, like, it's universally seen as I mean, Adam Jonas came out with a note saying that it was disappointing. Adam Jonas,
right,
saying something bad about Tesla and Elon. It's a rare thing.
All right. The event was delayed for 2 months and then another hour. What do you think they worked on? Robovan? So the Robovan Optimus dance moves?
Yeah, did you catch that when Elon the Robovan arrived? The way he was calling it?
Yeah, Robovan.
Robovan. We couldn't believe it. Like Jamie and Joe at the watch party were like, "What did you say?" Like, I mean, my English is not the best for sure, but I'm like, Robovan.
It's like the first time he saw the word. Like he's pronouncing.
And he keeps hammering what's her name, Kamala Harris, for reading the prompter all the time to be there. Like, I wish Elon would read the prompter sometimes.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, though. A lot of people brought that up. Is like, yeah, I mean, why was this delayed 2 months and it sucks so much? Like, what happened in the last 2 months? I would think that what happened in the last 2 months is they built more of them. Like, they were 20 prototypes of the Cybercab there, and they needed 20 to get people around the Warner Bros. Studio and everything. So it made more sense to have more, I guess. And they felt like, however, how many they had last time, they were like, yeah, it's gonna be rough. So I assume it's just that.
Jamie says Tesla did also show renders of different configurations, so this could just be one. We're talking about the Cybercab here. We talked about the Model 2,
Yeah.
2C Model 2, 2C robotaxi. We talked about the FSD being available. All right.
You can skip to the GT comment probably. I think that's
Okay. JT says, how long before Tesla has more autonomous non-geofenced miles with over 10,000 miles between engagements or disengagements than Waymo has geofenced miles? I feel like it could be a long time. Yeah, it's going to be hard to catch up with Waymo, especially with their sensor suite.
Yeah, and Waymo is expanding like nonstop. Like we just talked last week about the Hyundai deal. So they plan to make a lot of new vehicles with the Ioniq 5, and they are expanding in new markets all the time. So it's going to be hard to catch up because Tesla will not do anything until they get to. I mean, more than 10,000 miles between this engagement wouldn't result in an autonomous non-geofence service, by the way. I think you need to be closer to like 50,000 miles at the bare minimum. And a lot of people are talking about 100 and 200,000 because Waymo is at like, there's a bunch of different reports, but it's between 50 and 95. But Waymo is geofence. So they have a lot more room, and they use like remote system to talk to the vehicle, to if it gets stuck and everything, they can like answer question for the vehicle and have it on stock. So it's like two completely different things here. A lot. I'm thinking Tesla needs like 100,000 miles at least, and maybe even more than 200,000 miles, because you don't only need to be better than the average human driver. You need to be better than the best human drivers, because most of the people responsible for most of the accidents in the world are bad drivers. Like, I've never had an accident I've been responsible for, and I've driven a lot in my life. It's part of my job to drive, and I've never had an accident I've been responsible for. I had 2 accidents, and both times I was found non-responsible by the insurance. People just ran me over, basically. While I know some people that had like that driven a fraction of what I've driven, and they had like 5 accidents. Like, it's a big difference here. So yeah, I think we're still far away from that.
All right. Let's move on a little bit. Oh, so James Corrine says Tesla should add a steering wheel and subtract the cost of full self-driving. Then you would have a $25,000 car. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here, right?
That was the plan until earlier this year when Elon canceled it.
I agree.
Which is around the time that I started calling for Tesla to replace him for a CEO. I mean, I've been toying with the idea for a long time, but that was like that, and then the firing of the tire start charging teams. I was like, these are giant red flags, people, that we should do something.
All right, Dan Overstay, are you sure the premium Silverado LT doesn't qualify for the tax credit if there are non-installed options software that doesn't count towards the 80,000?
But I don't think those are software. I think it's like the wheels. I think it's the premium interior. I think it's
GM's
all
not that nuanced that they could
Yeah.
figure that out, probably. All right. Colin Kelly. State Farm is removing EV chargers so employees won't be able to charge at work. They say they are doing this because of fires and parking facilities which can't be contained. Thoughts? That'd be interesting to find out.
Like, if you're having a fire from a charged vehicle, unless you have like a rare occasions where you had battery problems, like the Bolt, for example, the Hi-Pace and the Hyundai Kona, all of them were linked to the same battery problem, by the way, or very similar battery problem
LG,
with a specific manufacturer. So if you have a charging vehicle that catches on fire, most of the time it has to do with a faulty charger installation more than anything. That's the stats that I'm getting regarding those EVs catching on fire while charging. So if you do the installation correctly, like, you shouldn't have too much to worry about. And gasoline cars catch on fire all the time, by the way. He's worried that it will spark similar moves by others. Yeah, unfortunately, so that could be the case. But I think most people are going to do the right thing there.
All right, Greg Poland says, I agree the details were too short and Elon's speech was way too short. I would have expected more details.
There was no details.
Yeah. All right, Colin Kelly, my thoughts are use a different insurer because the risk adjusters are apparently incompetent. If they came up with that answer, it's a good comeback. And all right, what about my Cybertruck? Will I be able to robotaxi it? It's going to be a while.
If you're in California or Texas, it's going to be next year if you believe Elon Musk this time, because the last 5 times he was wrong, but this time he's right. You know, in the post I wrote this morning about that, I was like, at one point Elon said that the problem why he was wrong all those times about these FSD timeline is that Tesla and the software kept hitting those local maximums. And he says you cannot see that you're in the local maximum until you actually hit the ceiling. So he says we kept hitting that. That's what happened. He's like, okay, now tell me why you think you're not going to hit another local maximum before achieving unsupervised self-driving. Why is no one asking him that? That should be the first question. Like, I'd love if Elon Musk will be game to come on this podcast and get an interview. You guys, if I can ask you guys, there's like 700 people here right now. If you could do something for us this episode, you know, I'm not even gonna ask you to like, to subscribe, anything like that. What I would ask you, can you go to X? I didn't then name it. If you can go to X, if you have an account, and tweet out to Elon. I'm gonna go like all these tweets. Tweet out, Elon, go on the Electrek podcast and prove them wrong that Tesla is gonna deliver on full self-driving next year. Prove them wrong. They are skeptical, but open-minded. Prove them wrong. Come on the podcast and prove them wrong. And we're gonna be fair to him, but we're gonna ask serious questions about this. If you could do that, we appreciate it.
I feel like it's unlikely, but sure.
No shit.
All right. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. One guy got kicked off Amtrak for having an EUC, and I get it, but the rules are all over the place right now with no solutions offered except for too bad for EV user. Is that an EUV?
Yeah, I assume you meant like a Bolt EUV.
Probably.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's crazy. All right, well, that's it for us this week, everyone. I hope you appreciate it. I'm dead tired, and now I'm sorry if I didn't have too much energy in the podcast. Like, that thing ran late last night, like crazy late, and I had to write an article after that, and then an electric unicycle event. Oh wow, okay. Wow. And then I woke up this morning at like 6 a.m. I dreamt about this event. We talked about it for so long. But yeah, I appreciate every single one of you that joined the podcast. I said I'm not going to say like it this time because you have another task to do for us if you would so kindly oblige. We'll see you same place, same time next week. Have a good one.